Good morning. I'm Charles Osgood, and this is Sunday Morning. In only a few days now, this year will be over, and a new one will begin. In this country, a new administration is about to take charge in Washington.
It's Sunday morning on CBS, and here again is Charles Osgood.
Every year at this time, we say hail and farewell to some remarkable people who left us during the past 12 months. And although we cannot possibly name them all, we do remember them all. They gave us their best, and for that we give them our thanks.
I'm the best you ever seen, Fats. I'm the best there is.
Paul Newman. He gave us his best.
Love me, hate me, kill me, anything. Just let me know it.
He was cool and hot, a lover and a fighter. And all kinds of rascals.
No sense being a grifter if it's the same as being a citizen.
He gave us so many memorable movies.
Oh, yeah.
And the popcorn to go with them. And all of the profits of Newman's own foods go to charity.
I mean, it's not enough that you just have talent. You gotta have character, too.
Paul Newman had plenty of both. Thank you, Paul Newman, for all your gifts. And thank you, Robert Rauschenberg. With your paintings, sculptures, and collages, you revolutionized the art world. Prolific, provocative, and always fearless.
There's so many more interesting ways to be than right.
Bill Buckley found the right most interesting. He was a conservative icon, always quick to put the left in his firing line.
They are indulging in a false, lazy historical disjunction.
William F. Buckley, Jr. was a man of big words and big ideas. George Carlin had a way with words.
There are some words that you can go to jail for.
His irreverent routine about the 7 words you can't say on television
And all I could think of were
made people stand up and take notice, all the way to the Supreme Court. Mildred Loving went to the Supreme Court too, and she did it in the name of love. Mildred and her husband Richard challenged Virginia's ban on interracial marriage, and in a landmark ruling, they won.
It's hard to believe, and I still don't believe it, but, you know.
She never wanted to be a hero, Mildred Loving said, just a bride.
I'm on my way. I don't want to turn about.
If the civil rights movement had a soundtrack, it was the folk artist Odetta who sang it. She marched with Dr. King and moved millions with her voice.
We shall overcome today.
How are you this morning?
It's been said that when Studs Terkel listened, everybody talked. He was a master interviewer.
What sort of preacher are you?
He'd listen to ordinary Americans talk of war and depression, of working hard and growing old. And he'd give voice to their tales of hard times and high hopes.
Primary Colors, a Mike Nichols film.
No mistaking that voice.
Lethal Weapon 4. Terminator 2.
In the world of movie trailers,
now playing at theaters everywhere.
Don LaFontaine led the way. There's no mistaking this beat. The Bo Diddley beat, it's called.
Now, when I was a little boy.
With his signature sound, Bo Diddley was one of the most influential founders of rock and roll, and one of the first to enter the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Take me out to the ball.
Dottie Collins is remembered in the Hall of Fame, the Baseball Hall of Fame. She was the strikeout queen of the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League back in the 1940s. But it was her pitch to honor women's baseball with its own exhibit at Cooperstown that we remember best. Yes, Dottie Collins was in a league of her own. Johnny Podres was the pitcher, too. In 1955, he led the Brooklyn Dodgers to their only championship, beating the vaunted Yankees in the 7th game of the World Series. Wait till next year, they used to say in Brooklyn. Until that year. Quarterback Sammy Baugh helped change football forever. as he popularized the forward pass. Nobody threw a football like slinging Sammy Baugh. Chess was Bobby Fischer's game,
The Russians are going to really be in for it when I get the title.
which he did in 1972, defeating Boris Spassky in perhaps the most memorable match in chess history. Always eccentric, he later became a recluse and a fugitive. Before time, on the chessboard, Bobby Fischer was king. On the raceway, Phil Hill was king of the hill, the first American Formula One champion. Phil Hill knew the thrill of victory.
Today, Monte Carlo is the scene of the Grand Prix of Monaco, and there they go.
Jim McKay, he left us this year. He brought the wide world of sports into our living rooms for more than 40 years.
The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat.
And when terror struck the Olympic Games in Munich,
Arab terrorists armed with submachine guns, faces black.
he brought that story home, too.
9 were killed at the airport tonight. They're all gone.
Goodbye to you, Jim McKay.
This is Meet the Press with Tim Russert.
And goodbye to you, Tim Russert, a colleague and competitor and premier journalist.
Those high-fluting computers, Tom. This is the answer.
No question about it. For 17 years as host of Meet the Press, you always knew just what to ask.
Questions?
Tony Snow provided the answers. He was the White House spokesman with a ready smile. This man was the best-kept secret in Washington for 30 years. Then, Mark Felt revealed that he was Deep Throat, the anonymous source who helped uncover Watergate. Jesse Helms was a conservative firebrand. Senator No, he was called. He didn't mind. I didn't come to Washington to be a yes man, he said.
This one here is called Thoughts and Dreams.
Yes, they gave us so many things. Tina Allen gave shape to African American history with her portraits in bronze. Yves Saint Laurent gave a new look to modern women. He was a fashion guru. And Maharishi Mahesh Yogi gave the Beatles and millions more something to think about. Transcendental meditation. Irvine Robbins found the road to success wasn't rocky after all. He gave us 31 flavors and then some of his Baskin-Robbins ice cream. J.R. Simplot turned his small potato business into billions. He gave us the frozen French fry. And Robert Mondavi gave us the taste of the good life. Here's to you, Robert Mondavi. The Kingston Trio lost not one but 2 voices this year. That's Nick Reynolds on the right and John Stewart in the middle. Surely there is a special place in heaven for Irina Sendler. What a hero she was. As a Catholic social worker in Poland, Irina Sendler defied the Nazis. Her underground network smuggled some 2,500 Jewish children out of the Warsaw Ghetto to freedom. Thank you, Irina Sendler, for your courage and your compassion.
You went away and my heart went with you.
And thank you, Joe Stafford, G.I. Joe, they called her. During World War II and the Korean War, troops serving in far-off lands would listen to the wistful sound of Joe Stafford and think of home. Many of our troops serving in far-off lands died this year. Nearly 500 American men and women were killed in Iraq and Afghanistan. We cannot show them all, but we do remember and thank them all. Dr. Michael DeBakey was a lifesaver. Many consider him the greatest surgeon ever. Heartfelt thanks to you, Dr. DeBakey. Many of our troops serving in far-off lands died this year. Nearly 500 American men and women were killed in Iraq and Afghanistan. We cannot show them all, but we do remember and thank them all. Dr. Michael DeBakey was a lifesaver. Many consider him the greatest surgeon ever. Heartfelt thanks to you, Dr. DeBakey. Israel Cachao Lopez was one of the great masters of Latin music. He gave us the mambo. Can't help but tap your feet to the rhythms of Cachao.
Thank you.
On the subject of tapping your feet, watch this. That's Jimmy Slide. So smooth, so rhythmic. For 6 decades on the stage, no one could glide quite like Jimmy Slide. And no one could wail quite like Johnny Griffin. Lightning fast on his tenor sax, Johnny Griffin was one of the best jazzmen of his generation.
There's a big similarity to me between photography and jazz.
William Claxton took pictures of the famous and the fashionable. But mostly he shot the music makers.
Photography is jazz for the eye.
Bill Claxton gave a face to music. Isaac Hayes was the man. With songs like the theme from Shaft, he helped define soul. Isaac Hayes was always cool. Sid Charisse was hot. Trained as a ballerina, she found her footing in Hollywood as a star of Technicolor musicals. Beautiful dynamite. That's what Fred Astaire called her. Eartha Kitt was a dynamite performer.
Santa baby, just slip a sable under the tree for me.
She was sultry, stylish, often outspoken, and always exciting.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Then why don't you?
It was much too soon to say goodbye to Heath Ledger.
Why don't you just let me be, huh?
He took center stage just a short while ago and exited this year,
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
leaving us only a glimpse of what might have been.
Behold his mighty hand.
Charlton Heston could command the screen like no other, as Moses and Ben-Hur and El Cid. He was a crusader off-screen, too. He fought for civil rights in the 60s.
From my cold, dead hands.
Then later for the rights of gun owners as head of the NRA. We said goodbye to him this year.
I'll forgive, but please don't you forget.
Who could forget that country crooner? Eddie Arnold.
We'll go a long way.
Billboard magazine ranked him the most popular country artist of all time. Talk about popular. Earl Hagen may have been the most whistled composer of all time. He wrote the theme to The Andy Griffith Show, had scores of other TV hits. Night after night on television, they made us laugh so.
What are you doing, Rose?
Oh, I was just going through the change.
Well, that explains the puffiness.
Estelle Getty, that silver-haired golden girl with the tart tongue.
Who ate my chicken?
Bernie Mac, the irascible king of comedy.
Bob,
Suzanne Plachette,
are there sometimes you'd rather be single?
the TV wife everybody loved.
Hello.
Harvey Korman, the second banana who was first-rate. And Laugh-In's Dick Martin.
Say goodnight, Dick.
Good night, Dick.
Good night, everybody.
He always left us laughing.
Don't tell me there's never anything on television. There's always something on television, and some of it may be better than we deserve.
John Leonard was a man of many words, every one of them well chosen. He wrote 5 million published words by his own reckoning, and was our resident critic and cultural arbiter here at Sunday Morning for 16 years, guiding us on what to read and what to watch. And when the right words were hardest to come by after 9/11, John Leonard could find them.
Terror wants derangement, but it didn't get it. Horror, certainly. All of us had fallen from 100 stories. And yet we gathered our bodies and our thoughts. And when we went home, we were not terrified. Like a serious book instead of a television movie, we were just a lot more complicated.
Goodbye to you, dear friend, and thank you. Thank you to so many wordsmiths who left us this year. Alexander Solzhenitsyn, imprisoned, then exiled. Yours was a moral voice for Russia, exposing the horrors of the Gulag. Harold Pinter, in Play After Play, you gave us pause to think about the complexities of everyday life. David Foster Wallace, the greatest writer of your generation, some say, you took us to a world of brilliance and imagination and infinite jest. And Michael Crichton, you turned science into fascinating fiction and brought dinosaurs to life with Jurassic Park. Making those dinosaurs look alive was the job of Stan Winston. He made aliens and teddy bears and Terminators too. A special effects wizard, that's what he was.
Round, round, get around, I get around, yeah.
Richard Nurr and his schoolboy buddy had a brilliant idea. They called it the hula hoop. Their company, Whammo, produced 100 million of them. Another of their toys that really took off? Yes, the Frisbee. Betty Page took it all off. She was the pin-up queen of the 1950s and one of the first centerfolds.
How are you? Michael.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I begged you to get some therapy.
Director and actor Sidney Pollack called himself Mr. Mainstream.
Good.
For his popular films like Tootsie and Out of Africa. His friend George Clooney said Sidney made the world a little better, movies a little better, and even dinner a little better. Levi Stubbs and his friends were in high school in Detroit when they began singing together.
Just look over your shoulder.
They didn't stop for more than 40 years. With Levi in the lead, the Four Tops became a driving force of Motown. The top of Mount Everest was unreachable, everyone thought, until Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay reached it in 1953, the first to scale the tallest peak in the world. We said goodbye to Sir Edmund Hillary this year. And we said goodbye to Randy Pausch, the college professor who gave his last lecture about embracing life, even as he faced death.
We cannot change the cards we are dealt, just how we play the hand.
His talk to a lecture hall of 400 reached millions on the internet, and millions more as a best-selling book, reminding us about what matters most.
It's not about how to achieve your dreams. It's about how to lead your life.
They led their lives exceedingly well and left us this year with gifts and moments and memories we'll cherish. We thank them all and say hail and farewell.